Welcome, Aquarius rising signs of the zodiac, to your horoscope for November 2025. Apologies in advance, I'm a little bit delayed getting your horoscope up on my channel. I have been very busy behind the scenes. Alas, we are here and we are going to talk astrology shop with planets and transits, lunations, grand trines, your chart ruler Saturn stationing direct, what it all means for you as an Aquarius rising sign in this video. Lots to focus in on. So before we get to the chronological astrology with planets and aspects and transits and lunations, let's focus in on your chart ruler Saturn. If you're an Aquarius rising, Saturn is your chart ruler. Modern planet has been connected to Aquarius being Pluto. I lean more towards the traditional methods and teachings of astrology. So I don't really focus in on Pluto being the ruler of Aquarius for transparency. Okay. Now, with Saturn being a chart ruler, this month stations direct. So prior to the station direct on the 26th of November, you still have Saturn in a retrograde in Pisces with retrograde Neptune co-present and your natal second house. So what is occurring here archetypally is you're getting a feel, you're getting an intuition, you're getting a deep sensation that you're about to launch into something new that extends and advances you in your livelihood, connecting more organically with building on your assets and possessions, and tuning into your value system regarding what are your standards. So Saturn has given you 5.5 months to contemplate your direction, your moral and ethical compass. What structures do you want to build and what do you want to disintegrate? What experiences do you want to creatively immerse yourself in and build on that fills you up emotionally, puts a smile on your eye, or makes you feel really content and quite in flow with your own personal rhythm? Saturn's giving you a moment to digest it all whilst he's been in a retrograde for 5.5 months and is now winding up to a nearly 2.5 year cycle of being in Pisces. So Aquarius rising signs have had lots of experience, lots of fluctuations and ups and downs going, what's my direction? What's my focus? How do I keep focus? How do I eliminate distraction? How do I know what's fair weather? Well, it's all about intuition. Pisces, tapping into your intuition, your spiritual side of self. What do you want to elevate? Saturn's giving you plenty of opportunity to chew the fat and consider diversity. So we like when our chart ruler is in a retrograde because the retrograde phases, the planets are technically closer to planet Earth. We're really feeling the pull to connect with ourselves and really embody the experience in a retrograde phase on how you're gauging with your own life direction and well-laid plans on building something sustainable for the self. Quite empowering. So Saturn is all about what's the structures, where's our boundaries, where's our line of sight, and let's get into it. So Aquarius rising signs are being extremely busy and self-focused on upping the ante and leveling up. So really quite nice, and that will continue for quite some time. In fact, until next year, before your chart ruler Saturn will go back into the zodiac sign of Aries in natal third house, where it literally, as all systems go, in extending your reach further in your community, how you commute, education, teaching and learning is going to be top priority, and immersing yourself in environments that are stimulating and can lift you in a positive direction and keep you focused. So quite powerful astrology for the Aquarius rising signs from now until next year, 2026. So now we're going to get into the planets in transit. So that's like a little footnote, little base of what's going on with your chart ruler being Saturn. You're now going, fine tuning, settling things down to your best ability, not tearing yourself to shreds. I sincerely hope not. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to have an experience, and you've got some time to nut out where you're setting your moral and ethical compass when it comes to developing and advancing on your livelihood, assets, and possessions and what you value. Quite powerful. On the 4th, we have planet Mars leaving your natal 10th house of Scorpio and ingressing into the 11th house of Sagittarius, where Mercury is co-present. Poor Mercury's all banged up in Sagittarius in your natal 11th house. So Mars will be in Sagittarius in your 11th house from the 4th of November to December 15. So, what does Mars bring to your natal 11th house in Sagittarius? Expansion, knowledge, seeking of adventure, experience, and excitement. Knocking shoulders with people, places, and things that are avant garde, out the box thinkers, goal oriented, optimistic, that can rev you up in the right direction when it comes to your social connections, your friends, and your goals. People that can help you and elevate you and your status in a public facing role and with your career. Mars really does bring action to that natal 11th house to lift you and connect with people of like mind that are into progressive thinking and far reaching visions regarding philosophy and spiritual outlooks on life. Really quite lovely. Mars in the 11th house from the 4th to December 15. On the 5th, we have Mars sextile Pluto and our first lunation of November being a full moon in Taurus at 13 degrees. And this is in the natal 4th house, that subterranean part of your natal chart. It's the chart connected to parents. It's the chart connected to home and family, that part of the chart, the 4th house, where this full moon exalted, no less, in Taurus at 13 degrees, whilst Mars is sextiling Pluto in the background. Really interesting day. So let's just talk about Mars sextile Pluto quickly, because sextiles are nice connections, they're easy connections, and they're like opportunities to immerse in dialogue and really drop into knowing, whoa, things are changing kind of aspect with Mars sextile Pluto on the 5th. And with the full moon in the 4th house, this could be having a knock-on effect regarding parents, your home and family life, knowing that there's some sort of generational till of the soil going on, or even having an instinct that I'm changing, which means my foundations and what I do behind closed doors is changing, and I'm feeling like I'm ready to fire on all cylinders. So this could be a nice lunation to just embody steady progress that you've been developing, whether that's you with social connections, your friends, or your goals. And it's like having a quite little happy dance or moment in regards to your home and family life or with a parent. So really quite lovely day on the 5th with Mars sextile Pluto and a full moon in Taurus. On the 6th, we have planet Venus, our planet of love, relationship, beauty, art, aesthetics, our planet of unifying, is moving into her sign of detriment Scorpio, your 10th house, until the 30th, where the sun is co-present as well in the natal 10th house. So with Venus and the sun in your 10th house of Scorpio, well, Venus will be here until the 30th. So Venus is at top speed in the solar system. She's really quick. So Venus is quickly visiting your natal 10th house to remind you competition is healthy. Venus and Scorpio, fight the good fight for what she believes, loves, and values with your career, your public facing roles, your ambition, your professional industry. Venus is going to give you lots of moments to remember everything's not always going to go our way. And we need to develop a muscle. We need to get a little bit stronger in regards to criticism and competition with Venus in the 10th, with the Sun in Scorpio from the 6th to the 30th. On the 7th, we have retrograde Uranus in Gemini begin its retrogress back into Taurus. Venus is squaring Pluto as well on the 7th of November. Okay. So Venus squaring off with Pluto from your 10th to your first house is feeling a pressure to conform or show up that may have you nervous or feeling less prepared than you may be. This could be not having all the information about the company that you're going for a job interview with. This could be having a presentation where you forget your notes or you can't remember a planned piece of dialogue with a sparky presentation. Think things aren't coming together organically, and it may be really heightening your sense of self and feeling less organic being in the public space on the 7th. Nothing you can't handle. It just may be an awkward day when Venus squares off with Pluto. So, not that that's not big news, because it is important, but retrograde Uranus going back into Taurus is very significant because Uranus has been transiting in Taurus, your natal fourth house of home and family and parents, for over 6 years, and is going back to till the soil in regards to how you maneuver out of the public eye. So Uranus will officially station direct in Taurus on February 3rd, 2026 at 27 degrees and won't ingress back into Gemini, your fifth house, until April 25th, 2026 to 2032. Okay. So what is Uranus trying to bring your natal fourth house of home, family, and parents? Revolution, liberation and freedom, and awakening that systems and systematic ways of interacting with parents, home, and family dynamics need to be rejuvenated. We need an upgrade here. We could be returning to an old disruption, an old narrative with Uranus back in the natal fourth house. And what Uranus brings us in the natal fourth house is opportunity to extend our reach and advance further. That means getting out of old familiar patterns or ways of interacting with family. We're trying to up the level of intensity because we need to break into a new future and a new direction. So this could be like generational changes that are going on with parents or within the home and family dynamics, with Uranus going back into Taurus, your fourth house, from the 7th of November until April 25 next year. So it's going to be one wild roller coaster that you'll be navigating while you're out there kicking goals in the public to your best ability. But with all this action going on behind closed doors in the natal fourth house, because it's not a public house, then it's going to be a very nuanced transit to navigate. We can't sugarcoat it. While we're having breakthroughs and awakenings, shocks and pivots and sudden detours regarding family, ancestry, and parents and our home life, we have to keep our own line straight. We need to be focused, and that can be a lot of pressure that we can be experiencing with Uranus in the natal fourth house, that angular part of the natal chart, which is extremely focused. And planets on angular parts of our natal chart are really loud. They're like megaphones. So Uranus is trying to announce it's time to advance. And with that, we get teething problems, we get growing pains, we get tensions. I don't want to move. I don't want to change. I want things to be the same. It's that kind of transit. And the fact that Uranus has been in the fourth house for over 6 years Whatever is meant to break is meant to break, and we have to roll with it with Uranus, wacky zany Uranus, because the wisdom here is to get us out of binds, get us unstuck, and move us into directions that feel a little chaotic. But with being chaotic and uncomfortable, we get to see the delights of these changes later down the track, not while we're going through them. That can be a lot. But after the transit is completed, we get to reflect on it and go, oh, that was almost a necessary evil. That was challenging. It was uncomfortable. I didn't really want to do it, but I've got some sort of change now with my home, family, and parents that is a lot better for you and all them. So fascinating with Uranus going back into the natal fourth house, Aquarius rising signs. On the 9th, we have Mercury officially stationing retrograde in Sagittarius, your 11th house, with Mars at 6 degrees. And this is Mercury's third and final retrograde of 2025. On the 11th, Jupiter begins its annual retrograde, where Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, the moon sign, in your natal sixth house. And this retrograde begins at 25 degrees. And Jupiter will not station to go direct in Cancer until March 10, 2026 at 15 degrees. Okay, so this part of your natal chart where Jupiter is exalted in Cancer is the natal sixth house for you as an Aquarius rising sign. So the sixth house is connected to subordinates, its service, its work, its labor, accidents, and injuries. So Jupiter can be inflammatory when it comes to accidents and injuries in the natal sixth house, meaning, aches and pains and pangs and creaks in the bones and the body is all up for grabs with Jupiter and Cancer in the sixth, where things get a little bit uncomfortable because Jupiter does make things get a little bigger. But with that, we get an opportunity to finally hit those aches and pains and things that we gloss over, finally dealt with. Jupiter connected to work and service and subordinates, then you may find that you're extending yourself a little more than usual with Jupiter in Cancer. You want to advance, therefore you're ready to put your head in the books, you're committed, you're doing your best to streamline and structure your moral and ethical compass and what direction you want to go when it comes to setting a stage well with things that you do on the daily with your schedule and your routine and your sense of commitment. So Jupiter is a benefic, he's the greater benefic, and he's interested in creating solid foundations here. But with a lot of exacerbation going on in the natal sixth house where things may be growing, and when he goes into a retrograde on the 11th, you get an opportunity to go, okay, things are really motoring. And I need to now just sit with what I'm doing and put pen to paper, get things right, get things sorted, and think about how I'm operating on the daily. How does that serve me? How's my body responding in kind to all this action in the natal sixth house? What I like about it is your chart ruler Saturn in Pisces is in the second house with Neptune is trining the natal sixth house. This signifies archetypally this trine being a Jupiterian one at that, from your sixth to your second house, looks like the Aquarius rising signs are really concentrating on setting a strong foundation regarding work, skill building, building on resources, assets, possessions, and going the extra mile to do that with their work and what they do on a daily. But how is that body going? How's your mind going? How's your spiritual health going? This is all has to be balanced with Jupiter exalted in Cancer and in a retrograde phase now. You get to see how you're coping with things getting a lot more active from the 11th of November. On the 12th, retrograde Mercury conjuncts Mars at 6 degrees in Sagittarius, your 11th house. This is really good because Mercury needs Mars here. Mercury needs Mars because Mercury, poor old Mercury, is in detriment. He's just losing a bit of steam. Like, oh, can I really do that? Is it really going to happen? Oh, maybe I need to, do a little bit more when it comes to extending my reach with community and social connections and my dreams and goals. That's where we get the detriment component. Mercury can make us feel like we need to be extra. So when he retrograde conjuncts Mars on the 12th at 6 degrees in Sagittarius, Mars goes, focus. We need you to focus. So this can be great for communicating, talking about, and thinking about your financial direction, travel plans, and getting your head straight on the 12th. So, decision day, communication day, planning, scheduling, travel itineraries could all be up for grabs on the 12th. On the 17th, we have our first grand water trine of November. These have been happening in succession since October this year, and they continue, which is quite lovely for us here on terra firma. But your chart ruler, Saturn retrograde, is having a direct connection to this water trine on the 17th from the Sun and retrograde Jupiter. So this grand water trine is filtering in the background while Pluto is sextiling retrograde Mercury. And the trine, the grand water trine, is happening from your 10th, 6th, and 2nd house. So these houses are about what we're driven towards, what's our ambitious drive. The 2nd house, what we value, we work hard towards. 6th house, what we value, we do the daily grind. It's laborious, but we do what we've got to do. And the 10th house is what we are driven towards when it comes to our public facing roles and how we want to be known in the world, our identity, how we want to be seen by others. So with the grand water trine on the 17th, connecting with your chart ruler, Saturn in a retrograde to retrograde Jupiter and the Sun and Pluto, sextile retrograde Mercury. I like to think of this day as being confident in having difficult conversations and being emotionally intelligent enough to communicate your needs. Think, I need to talk about moving office, relocating. I need to talk about the wages, my salary. I need to talk about my website. I need a new photo or I need a new identity. Think practical things on the daily that you're easily communicating about that you need to feel your way into. And that means you want to retweak something on the 17th. And it comes through quite organically. With Pluto sextile retrograde Mercury, this could be recovering information that helps your agenda in having difficult or uncomfortable conversations about getting things just right that support you in advancement. Interesting day on the 17th. On the 18th, retrograde Mercury ingresses back into Scorpio, your natal 10th house, joining the Sun and Venus. Mercury won't station direct until later in the month. So now we have Mercury in the natal 10th house, the angular part of your natal chart with Venus and the Sun. So this can be returning to difficult, challenging competition, trying to maneuver big dogs in your industry or trying to recreate some sort of financial aspect connected to your future with your career or professional industry or your public facing roles. Retrograde Mercury can also have you focusing in on traveling, but traveling to advance oneself. Think promotional tours, meetings, scheduling public talks in corporate situations or settings. things that are official. So Mercury here will have you focusing on traveling and maybe self-promotion or traveling to capitalize on upping the ante regarding your career and your ambition. Fascinating with Mercury going back into the natal 10th house with Venus and the Sun. All right. On the 21st, what a day. We have our second lunation of November, a new moon in Scorpio, where the moon is in fall in Scorpio at 28 degrees, with a retrograde Mercury cazimi. This is all in your natal 10th house, where Venus is also currently co-present. Then the Sun opposes retrograde Uranus in Taurus and trines retrograde Neptune in Pisces. And then the Sun will progress and then ingress into Sagittarius, your natal 11th house, until December 21st, joining Mars. Wow, big day on the 21st, yeah? A fallen new moon in your natal 10th house of your career, your public name and identity, your ambition, and your professional industry. Fascinating. I think this new moon gets help with a retrograde Mercury cazimi though, because what we've got here is retrograde Mercury going, look, we need to be okay with going there regarding discussing new opportunities to expand our horizons. That really does fill our cups. So connecting with new environments, people, places, and things on the 21st, though uncomfortable, will benefit you and help you develop a muscle towards being okay with not knowing everything and feeling completely in your skin. This is about getting out of your comfort zone, new moon, on the 21st for Aquarius rising signs. With the Sun opposing retrograde Uranus and Taurus in the natal 4th house, this is simply being okay, excuse me, with individuating away from family tradition, a parent or responsibility within the home, whilst you need to execute your well-laid plans in a professional capacity, with the Sun opposed retrograde Uranus. And with the Sun trining retrograde Neptune in Pisces, this could be about resuscitating or recovering an old opportunity that needs to be grasped now. Kind of new moon is what I'm getting for Aquarius rising signs. And then the Sun will move into the natal 11th house of Sagittarius for 4 weeks with Mars. Mars will move on the 15th of December. However, with the Sun and Mars doing really, really well and your social house connected to people that can advance you in a professional capacity, your social connections, your friends, and your goals for your future, then what the Sun brings is purpose and direction and the spirit to immerse yourself in expanding into new horizons, different people, places, and things that are future thinkers. They're optimistic, they're outgoing. You are seeking adventure, you're thrill seeking, you are seeking something that is invisible, like a belief, but there's something here, and going the extra mile in the distance when the Sun is in Sagittarius with Mars co-present for 4 weeks. So this is go get 'em kind of day on the 21st, and leave fear and doubt at the door where it belongs. It's time to go, is what I'm getting for the Aquarius rising signs on the 21st, although not completely ideal new beginning environments or events. On the 25th, we have Venus conjunct retrograde Mercury at 22 degrees. Okay. Well, in Scorpio, this can be basically bringing back up something from the past that's difficult to talk about, communicate about, a financial discrepancy, a travel itinerary that needs to be sorted out once and for all, or just being okay with, like that new moon, not being okay with the way the path is moving forward. You may be questioning or doubting yourself, if you love it, if you're all in on the 25th. But again, with that new moon, it may be that necessary uncomfortable moment again on the 25th that helps you basically boss up, is what I'm getting with this conjunction. Then the next day on the 26th, we have our second grand water trine of November, and it's Venus setting off this trine now from your 10th house in Scorpio to retrograde Jupiter and Cancer in the 6th, and trining your chart ruler, retrograde Saturn in Pisces in your natal second house. And this is the day on the 26th that officially your chart ruler Saturn goes direct. Okay, so with the grand water trine swimming in the background from your house of values, that is going to take you the distance. We've got you represented by Saturn as a Aquarius rising sign, being focused, determined, and ready to take a risk and advance forward. No fence sitting, side sitting, being passive aggressive and not being all in. There's been enough activity in your natal 10th house and your 4th house to give you plenty of food for thought about how you are going to execute in advancing. You, that really does fill you up with certainty about yourself. This is about being your own advocate and ambassador kind of day with a grand water trine and Saturn now stationing direct moving forward for the rest of 2025, bleeding into 2026. So working with planets in transits, it's easy to feel nerves. Oh, things are changing. This is happening. And with that, we go, it's not going to be all my way perfect all the time, but at least you've got connections and archetypally with this grand water trines repeating and your chart ruler Saturn going direct, Jupiter in the 6th of work, it's like, it's go time. It's time to stop taking baby steps and take more leaps and bounds. Just really drop into your heart and soul and go, I'm going to drop into my creative juices. I'm going to believe that I can build my own sense of stability from the 26th of November moving forward. On the 27th, Venus opposes retrograde Uranus. Yeah, this is about not loving being taken away from family time, a parent, or reducing so much concentration towards the home life or doing things behind closed doors in private. And this also can bring about this archetypal opposition with Venus to retrograde Uranus, not wanting something going on in private, interrupting your career, your ambition, or your public facing roles. Fascinating. And on the 27th, moving into the 28th to the 29th, Mercury is stationing and going direct at 20 degrees in your natal 10th house. That's good because now Mercury's finished his third and final retrograde of 2025, and Mercury in the natal 10th house signifies archetypally for the Aquarius rising signs that you're set on a path. You're moving towards connecting and opening up, regardless whether you have the academic feathers in your cap, the connections that can take you the distance. It's just go time now that Mercury is direct in Scorpio, your natal 10th house. So again, no fence sitting, towing the line. This is about consolidating and just trusting your heart and your instincts that you're moving in the right direction with Mercury stationing direct at 20 degrees. Whether that's travel, financial opportunities, extending your reach, or just being really focused on what you want to bring to the public or be known for in a public capacity. Fascinating. On the 30th, we have a Venus trine retrograde Neptune. Yep, this can be all about nerves. Just feeling like you're so nervous and so distracted that you feel like you may want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and release fair weather dreams and goals that you know are just not serving you. So this is like, a cutting of an emotional cord, that like an old story, an old narrative. You can't do this, you can't do that, or just feeling like whatever or whoever is in your space regarding advancing towards building on your livelihood, your assets and possessions, or your values. It's easy to go, look, I'm feeling nervous enough and I don't need this. So you may be just eliminating pathways that you've been sidelining, or maybe had too many balls in the air. And on the 30th with Venus trine retrograde Neptune, it's like it's time to release, and it's time to stop feeling so, you know, rattled, if you will. And then Venus will ingress into Sagittarius in your natal 11th house, joining Mars and the Sun. And Venus will be there in your 11th house of Sagittarius until December 24. Now, if you like to put on your party pants, put on your heart-shaped glasses and dance the night away, you're going to really enjoy Venus and Sagittarius, Capricorn rising signs in your natal 11th house of social connections. Venus is a thrill seeker in Sagittarius and has you seeking out knowledge and experience through connections with community, friends, goal setting, and developing relationships with alliances that can advance your professional agenda. And Venus just brings lots of opportunity our way in Sagittarius to advance further than we usually don't do. We get a little bit cautious sometimes, but with Venus and Sagittarius, it's like, oh, just show me where I've got to go and what I've got to do to get to my heart's desire, and I'll get it. So this can feel like you're really a little extra driven towards really setting your eye on the prize for what you want. Think scouting, seeking out representation, people that can help you in a career agenda. You will be absolutely walking the walk and talking the talk with Venus in adventure seeking, knowledge seeking Sagittarius, your natal 11th house from the 30th to December 24. You may be focusing in on topics and subjects that are about different cultures, foreigners, foreign places, traveling to foreign places, learning a new language, or being in environments that aren't your usual. And that may give you a bit of a spark that fills you up and gives you a big, strong sense of optimism that things are going along pretty nicely with Venus, Sun, and Mars in your natal social 11th house. Go get them, Tiger. Aquarius rising signs, Venus in Sagittarius. Thrill seeker. That is your horoscope for the month of November, Aquarius rising signs. I hope you have a stellar month. If you would like to work one-on-one with your Cosmic Girl, I can be contacted at the email being cosmicgirl101@protonmail.com. Till next time, Aquarius rising signs, stay cosmic.